It's just enough.
It's Andy Campbell! It's in! Campbell comes off the bench to be a hero! A superhero! Breakthrough! It's taken a while, but it's been worth the wait for Cardiff City!
Hey guys, I'm Sai and welcome to Ace Podcast Nation, and this is a special edition of the Andy Campbell Football Show, the Andy Campbell Football Show Extra, and it's also episode number 64. This show is available live on Facebook, YouTube and Periscope / Twitter. Ace Podcast Nation, also your home to other great shows and series featuring top guests, expert analysts and more. So please follow us on social media, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can find links to all of those in the description below, as well as at the closing credits. And of course you can follow the Andy Campbell Show on all social media at AC Footy Show, as seen under Mr. Campbell's face. And just as we wait for the room to fill up and give people a chance to get in, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to Martin Spate and Black Diamond Sports for supporting the show and the channel as much as they do. Black Diamond Sports is a global sports agency representing sports stars from around the world. For more information, visit their social media pages or indeed visit their brand new website. The links again in the description and the closing credits. And lastly, but certainly not least, I would like to say thank you to Darren Ralston and Bespoke Financial for sponsoring today's show. And here's a very quick word from them.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my auntie Louise told mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if mummy or daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and mummy and daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
Huge thank you to Darren and Bespoke Financial. Bespoke Financial specialise in life insurance, critical illness, income protection, mortgages and of course sports cover. So check their website and their social media pages in the links below. And again, huge thank you to them, as they already dominate the insurance scene in Teesside and they're expanding around the UK. And I urge you all to check them out, because I've heard exceptionally good things. And my co-host uses them himself and he speaks very highly of them. But anyway, tonight we're doing something slightly different, as we're on a break from the championship, so we like to keep it fresh, do things different, freshen it up a bit, keep you on your toes. So we'll be discussing non-league football and semi-professional football in detail with not one but two guests. So joining me to get stuck into this subject, we first have the goal collector, Davy Jones' favourite son, Cardiff City and Middlesbrough legend, Mr. Andrew Campbell. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, this is going to be really interesting. This, because I think there's good links between obviously professional and semi-professional clubs. Obviously, I've been luckily enough, and I'll say the word lucky because I'll explain that later on. But lucky enough to do both. Because those guys who don't get an opportunity to do both sometimes think they're missing out on something. But I think the story which I'll tell very soon will probably portray a different story to maybe somebody else. But no, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am as well. I'm not as familiar with kind of non-league football and lower league football really as I am with the Championship and League One and the Premier League. So I'm looking forward to it, because I think it's going to be very interesting. So firstly, joining us, we have an ex-professional footballer, current Spennymoor Town manager. He's won 3 promotions. He's now just 2 steps away from the Football League. Mr. Jason Ainsley. Welcome, Jason. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for inviting me, mate. Just going back to your advertisement of Darren, he's done well since he left me down Ralston, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He played for you, Jazz. He played for you.
Did he?
No, he played for me, an assistant manager for me.
Ah, did he?
Wow.
I never knew that. I hope he better be watching. By the way, if he's watching, put a comment on. We can diss the dirt on Jay here. Diss the dirt. Well, diss the dirt here. No, he's. I've known Darren for donkey's years through family and stuff. Obviously through my brother, and doing a great job now and helping a lot of footballers out with insurance. You know that I got involved with him probably when I went into the semi-professional game and. It gave me peace of mind, Jay. You know that not that I ever tackled, by the way, but every time I got tackled, I used to think, "Am I protected? Am I not protected?" But it just gives you that peace of mind that
typical striker.
Ah, mate, you don't need to tackle.
Striker.
It's all about it's all up for you. It's up for you.
Yeah.
No, he's a top lad.
He's a good lad. Good lad.
But speaking of strikers, the person who stops those strikers would obviously be a defender. And
I was thinking,
secondly, Gethin scored goals, surely. He must have scored at least a couple. We have ex-Bath City, Merthyr Tydfil, Port Talbot Town, Cirencester Town, and of course the mighty Bluebirds defender, Mr. Gethin Jones. How are you, my friend?
Very good, Simon. Happy to be on you. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. No, it's going to be good, mate. I'm really excited that you're both on. It's going to give us a great insight from obviously current. You know what I mean? Players, obviously, I know you're packed in now, but current players who've played now, and obviously, Jay's managed for seems like a lifetime, to be honest with you, doesn't it? But yeah, it's gonna be really exciting,
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So obviously, Geth, you popped on before for a little cameo when we were surprised Mr. Campbell on one of the Monday shows.
Good show that.
But just a little disclaimer for maybe some of the regular viewers. I know Gethin's obviously an ex-Cardiff player as well, but we are going to be focusing on non-league football and semi-professional football, so we're probably not going to get into loads of questions about Cardiff. You know, we might touch on a couple towards the end, but just if people get a bit thing if I'm not answering their questions about Cardiff. But anyway, so before we go into any other business, which is not going to be non-league, we're going to do the Magnificent Seven. But because there's 2 guests, I've decided I'm going to split it up. So it's going to be quick fire questions. It's going to be 3 for Gethin, 3 for Jay, and 1 for Campbell.
Ruthless. This is ruthless, by the way. This is ruthless.
So let's see. All you got to do is just answer honestly, and don't think about it too much. And if you want to give a reason, Andy, you can give a reason as well.
Can I just defend myself before this starts? By the way, that you 2 gentlemen have not had anything to do with what's going to get mentioned in the next 2 or 3 minutes. So this is all he's doing.
Don't know what you're on about. Who wants to go first?
Me.
No, you're last. Right.
I know the question.
I'll have a go first then.
Go on then. Gethin first then. Nice and easy to start. Messi or Ronaldo?
Ronaldo.
Merthyr or Cardiff?
Cardiff.
Good lad. Dave Jones or Andy Campbell?
Andy Campbell.
Okay.
I'd have been out of the chat straight away.
Yeah. To be fair, they're both pricks. So.
And then Jay, we got Messi or Ronaldo.
Yeah, I'm going to go Messi. Messi for me.
Good debate, isn't it?
Durham or Gateshead?
Gateshead.
And the worst trainer you've ever managed?
How long have you got? A lad called Callum Griffith through that yard.
Callum Griffith, good lad. He's a good lad though. He's a good lad though, Janie. He's a good lad.
Yeah, he never trained, but he was fit. He was always fit on the Saturday, but he never trained through the week. Never trained.
Best players, then.
Got a long list.
All right, Andy. So the obvious question to ask you was Boro or Cardiff, but I felt like that was just too easy. So I thought I'd ask you a different question.
Go on.
It's nothing, it's nothing bad. I'm just interested by the answer. The angriest player you've ever played with, and give an example of why they were so angry.
The angriest player, I'd probably go with. I'd probably go with Paul Ince, and he was angry just because he was a winner. He was a born winner. If you didn't do exactly what he wanted, he had such high standards that if you didn't do what he wanted and expect his expectations, that he would tell you in no certain terms that you were doing a rubbish job. And I think that gave me a good upbringing and give me the, especially in football terms, of how your high standards need to be, because if you ever relinquish those standards and drop them, I think, you know what I mean, you're hitting the loser straight away. So no, I'd say Paul Ince.
Good answer, mate. So let's see, I was quite kind this week. I thought
You were very kind, to be fair.
Very kind. Maybe I'll save a good. I got a good one for Monday for our guest straight off. He's having that question straight away. But anyway, so any other business to start? So this is the only part of the show where we're going to veer off too much from semi-professional and non-league football. We're going to talk any other business. The new fixtures are out for the various leagues, or the Premier League and the Championship, I think specifically. People don't seem to care, Andy.
No, well, has it got the same excitement when you're not allowed into the stadium? Nothing at all. You know that I've heard a rumor that, and somebody please tell me if I'm correct or wrong, that they're going to trial the Carabao Cup or whatever it's going to be called nowadays to let fans back in, but they're not allowed to sing, they're not allowed to jump around. I don't get it. I don't get, you know what I mean. I know they're allowing supporters back in, so obviously Jay's team will be able to have fans back in from straight away, which is fantastic news for semi-professional football and allow clubs to start generating money again. But Si, listen, I look at League One and League Two as well. That they're getting punished again. They seem to get punished every single time they get the rough end of the stick. Why aren't their fixtures out?
Because they don't care about them.
The Premier League is just finished. The Championship is just finished. But League One and League Two have been finished for so long, apart from the playoffs, by the way. The fixtures should be out and could still be out, but they're not. And the EFL, just every week they get on my nerves and do something else wrong.
Well, the Scottish League's in full flow, mate.
Yeah, I know.
It's already going, isn't it? I find it frustrating.
Yeah.
I do wonder why, like they're saying about the Carabao Cup, but like, what's the difference between the Carabao Cup and the Premier League or the, whatever? It doesn't matter what tournament it is, does it?
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's the same thing. And when you're asking fans to adhere to things like no singing and no chanting, it's going to be problematic.
Yeah.
Gethin, were you excited by the fixture release?
I weren't, to be honest. It's not the same when you can't go and watch games and it's nothing. It just feels like it's dragging on, and they're not. You need to do something now. You need to start getting people back to games. I know, obviously everything's going on, but they've got to sort of try and make something of it, or get the fans involved in it a bit more.
So I said, yeah, I do. I said on Monday, and Jason, you might be able to give insight into this, I suppose. I said on Monday that in a lot of ways it's easier to get fans back now slowly into kind of non-league, lower league games than maybe it is in the big stadiums, because they're so big and you've got to have so many stewards and staff because of the size of the venues. Do you think it's easier to get crowds back at non-league venues than it is perhaps at the bigger venues?
Yeah, I do, but I agree with Andy and Gethin that the goalposts change all the time. I mean, before lockdown, when the Bundesliga came on, everybody was buzzing, myself included. But it just wasn't the same, was it? The games are great, but there's no atmosphere at all, no crowds there. And like Andy said there, the fixtures have just come out today. We've now been told as a National League club, a National North club, that we're still an elite club, so we can't have fans at the moment. So we have to go through all the COVID testing. We have to have a doctor on board. But that's not our pre-season preparations even further back. I think the crowd situation, I think we can step 3 and below. So I know we've got a friendly on Tuesday, and I think they can have up to 100.
Oh. Has everyone else lost Jason's sound there?
Yeah.
Jace, your sound's gone again, mate. You just have to do what you did before.
Okay.
Joe's back on.
Oh, you're back.
Yeah, back. Yeah,
No.
We play a team in the Northern League on Tuesday, our first friendly, and they're allowed 150 supporters. It's great for them. But even at our level, a National League, National North, we still can't have supporters, and our fixtures are not out until September. our season didn't start till October. It's just a mess at the moment.
I agree, Jay. Because I think you've got to see it from the players' point of view. Obviously, I follow your team on social media, and if anybody doesn't follow Spennymoor Town, follow it because the coverage is great. Obviously, training at the minute, pre-season training. I see the lads having a laugh and a joke, and obviously taking it very seriously. By the way, it's obviously hard graft, but there's got to be something for them as well because the staff, the players. They want something. They want the fans there. I couldn't imagine playing a game, a competitive game, without having some kind of fans there because scoring a goal, for example, with no fans there, it must be the most depressing thing in the world because you've got no buzz. There's no, would it be the same losing the game? Would you have the same feel? It'd probably remind me of playing Ponton's League reserve team football a little bit at times, and and I do really feel for players because I looked at Liverpool winning the Premier League. Yes, they were delighted, and yes, they were always going to win it, but there was an edge taken off it, and would it have felt a lot more if they had won the league? And the same for Leeds United, and I did really feel sorry for those kind of teams, and still do, because Leeds have waited for so long to get in the Premier League, and they're getting there. The fixtures have come out. I think they've got a big game against Liverpool, first game of the season, and it's just not going to happen really for the fans to be there, and the players. It would be such a letdown really to not have their fans. Because there'll be about 5,000-6,000 fans would have been at Anfield to follow it as well, which is just heartbreaking. Really.
Well, and the other thing just to add to that is when you add in VAR with no fans as well, like you're going to get to, I think, particularly early in the season, you could get people scoring goals and not even really celebrating because one, they're waiting to see if it's going to be allowed as it's checked by VAR and all this, and then two, the fans aren't there, and you're just taking the gusto out of scoring a goal and the elation of scoring a goal, and I just think it's killing it. Football's nothing. Football is nothing without fans.
I agree. Jay just said there, though, didn't he? Jay just said there about how everyone was buzzing. Refer back to the first game, which was live, was Dortmund against Schalke, the first game, which was live from lockdown, and I was delighted to watch that game. Watched the full game. I wanted to see how I felt. I was still excited, there was no crowd noise back then, and it was different, but it was new, and it was something that wasn't going to go away. But I always had this dream that finished the season. By the time the next season started, we'll be in a different position, a new scenario. But we seem as though we've not really moved on a little bit. So other sports are moving on, some areas are moving on, and I just think we can just use our common sense a little bit and just to get some kind of finances back into certain levels, because I look at grounds. Could grounds be partially open? I know obviously Jason's ground really well at Spennymoor, and they can get fans back in. It might not be allowed away fans, so the mingling. It just doesn't make sense to me. I just don't like it. I don't like the feel of it. It doesn't.
No, I totally agree. I mean, you just have to look and see the beaches, and they're all packed out there, and then you can't get 200 people come to a pre-season friendly. It doesn't make sense. And
that's the annoying thing, Jane. The people people do it on purpose, by the way, to get a reaction. But the Brighton Beach, Redcar Beach, any Barry Beach, every beach in the world, that there's been thousands of people on a hot day, but you're not allowed to go and watch your local team on a pre-season game because they generate loads of money, and it's not fair, And people feel sorry for League One and League Two clubs and the Macclesfield Towns of this world and the Stevenage because the small clubs. But let's be honest, there's more clubs than just those two who are struggling. There's semi-professional clubs who rely on supporters coming through the gates and can't afford to pay players. They're probably running on paper-thin squads as well, and it's just not the amount of clubs we're potentially going to lose is going to be ridiculous. Scary
thought. Very quickly, just a couple of things. Martin Spate of Black Diamond Sport just sent me a text. He said him and Neil are watching the show in the Myton, I'm assuming that's a pub, with their headphones on, and they want to ask Jay, is he with Virgin or BT for his internet, I assume?
I'm with Virgin. Is it going off?
But and also just a little say hello to my son who just popped into the chat.
Nice.
As I haven't really seen him all week. But anyway, and I promised my builder I'd say hello to him. So hello, Dave.
Hello, Dave.
Thanks for rescuing my home. So moving on, the last bit of any other business for this evening, we had the Europa League and the Champions League finals are set. What did you think of the semi-finals, Geth, of Champions League and the Europa League? Were you surprised by any results?
Yeah, obviously the Barcelona result was a massive shock. everyone knows Bayern Munich's a good side, but no one expected that result. Do you know what I mean? And it's made it good, really, because it obviously shows Barcelona just a normal team. It was good to see a team do that to them.
100%.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm glad Paris got there finally as well, because I feel like they've been quite unlucky over the last few years, and I know they've spent a ridiculous amount of money, but I felt like they were, there was one year they were 4-0 up against Barca and they somehow lost, and I don't know, it's all, but obviously United lost to Seville, which was a bit of a shock maybe. But so your finals are Europa League finals, Inter Milan versus Seville. Let's see who everyone thinks is going to win. We'll start with you, Jason. Who do you think is going to win out of Inter and Seville?
Yeah, I'm good because I'm a bit of a Man U fan, so I was a bit good about that result. I think Inter Milan, that would have been the dream final, wouldn't it? Inter Milan beating Man United with Lukaku and Ashley
Lukaku, last minute winner.
So I fancy them. I think we've got too much going forward for Seville.
Yeah, I agree.
Technically very, very good.
I thought Seville they were technically pretty good. I didn't think they were as good as they have been in the last couple of years. Obviously, they've got an exceptional record in the Europa League. I think they got to 4 finals in the last 5 years or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. Exceptional. And who have you got for the Inter Seville?
I agree with Jay. I look at the two front men of Martinez and Lukaku and just think they've got too much. I can't see them not scoring, you know what I mean? And Seville don't seem to score a lot of goals. I looked at the way they played against United. They had a game plan. They soak up pressure quite well. But if it wasn't for the goalkeeper against United, they would have got battered. And I believe if they give Inter Milan those kind of chances today, there's just going to be a flourish of goals, and I can't see Lukaku not scoring some of those chances what United had the other day.
Well, funny enough, I thought United were really unlucky in the semi-final and the quarter-final and the semi-final. They came up against two keepers having the games of their lives.
Yeah, I agree.
Like Copenhagen could have been about 6-0, and Seville, I thought United could have been comfortably clear, but the keepers had a blinder. Geth, Inter or Seville for you?
I fancy Inter as well. I say it's just this front two is too good, and I think Seville, if they get them, as Andy said, if they get them chances way to Inter, I just can't see Inter not scoring.
Agreed.
A little bit too much class.
I'm going to go with Seville for the
just
to be different.
Just because you do, yeah. Just because of being United, that's what you do.
What I think is, I just think that they've got a massive amount of experience in that squad for European football and finals specifically.
I think it can change. I think the reason for me why it's changed a little bit this year is because it's got a Champions League place at the end of it, and Inter Milan.
It's had that for a couple of years, though, hasn't it?
Has it? Well, they need it this year. I know they qualified, but it's another trophy. Conte's a manager, and for me, everything's set for them to win it.
Yeah, Gaz in the chat just said Lukaku's in incredible shape, but he is. It's almost like he took it quite personally that United got rid of him because he seems to be a lot leaner and quicker, whereas he was kind of labelled as being a bit slow and not maybe playing the United way, if you want to say it. And then the Champions League final, PSG versus Bayern. Now, for me, that is a dream final. I think that is incredible. It's going to be a great game. Geth, who you got for that one?
That's a tough one. I think you got the class of Bayern. They're just all so well organised as a side. But then with Neymar and Mbappe, and this Di Maria, I just fancy PSG. I think just a little bit. They'll have that little bit of class.
Interesting.
Yeah, a couple of people in the chat said the same as PSG's year. What about you, Jay? Have you going for PSG or?
I can see Geth's argument there. I mean, Bayern gave a few chances the other day. They could have been a couple down, but they're like a Rolls Royce, aren't they? Bayern, really. They're just unstoppable. And I think PSG will score, but I can't see them keeping Bayern out. I think. I'm going for the 3-1. I'm giving you even a prediction there. I'll give you the score. 3-1.
There you go.
Do you know what? In fairness, I think both sides defensively give away chances, and they do leak goals. So you could end up with like a 5-4 final. It'll be 0-0. It'll be 0-0 now after I've said that. But Man City as well. We'll talk about Man City now. And who you got for PSG versus Bayern, mate?
I agree with everybody. I think it's a great argument because you've got the best players in the world. You know what I mean? When the best players in the world come to the party, it's just an amazing occasion. And for me, the only thing what's missing is the fans. Go back to that point. But for me, you look at the attacking players. You know what I mean? Lewandowski. You've got Gnabry, who scored 2 world-class goals the other day. You've got obviously Mbappe and Neymar. Yeah, there's definitely going to be goals. There's going to be chances, you know. And I think it's whoever takes the chances on the day. But I don't believe that Bayern will play the high line that they played the other night because they will get absolutely ruined by the pace and they'll have to change.
Mbappe and Neymar.
But they'll change because, like Jay said, they're Rolls Royce. They've got some class about them, and you know what I mean. The Germans always seem to get over the line, and I believe they'll do it again.
Yeah, I think. I'm going PSG. I think it's their year. I just think, as much as I agree with you, and with German Bayern Munich, they just seem to be able to pull it out when it matters. I'm going with PSG because I just think you look at their squad, it's ridiculous. It's like something you'd build on FIFA or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like what my oldest son, when he's playing FIFA and signs all the best players. That's what it is. It's just ridiculous. One thing, just quickly before we move off, kind of on to non-league football, I wanted to ask you guys about Man City and Pep. It just doesn't happen for them in Europe, and I know that there's this thing of like the fans don't care about it, but I think deep down they do, and I think it really needles Pep particularly. Like, what more can they do? And they seem to, you know, they got arguably the best manager in world football. They've got a bottomless pit of money, and they got some class players.
Listen, you know, I mean, what I'm going to say is not going to be a negative on Pep the manager. He's a legend. He's won everything he is to be won. But I do believe he got everything wrong against Leon. I just think they took their eye off the ball a little bit. He changed things around instead of for me just letting Man City play the Man City way and letting Man City. Let Leon worry about Man City. It was like that they were nervous and scared of the way that Leon could attack them, and for me, they shouldn't have been in the same league. Man City, yeah. Listen, you look at the chance that Sterling missed, and the game might or will have been different. But for me, you can take those kind of moments out of the game, and the game should have been won by Man City early doors if they'd just kept the attacking prowess of the way they played against Real Madrid the week before, because from what I saw against Real Madrid to Leon, there's 2 different sides, and you know what I mean, that's not like a Guardiola team for me.
Yeah, how can you go from decimating a Real Madrid side to then being really, really piss poor against Leon? It's just bizarre, but then arguably, is like I said to you the other day, and is that down to Pep to get him motivated and to rectify him, and you know, any issues? I'm not sure. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll ask a manager in Jason, where's it going wrong for Man City?
I just don't think they've strengthened the centre halves, have they? You know, when they got rid of company left, I don't think they've replaced him, or they've got quality players there. I just don't think they know who his best partnership has been there. I think when you have centre halves, they need to be playing 30, 40 games a season, regardless of what league it is. It's not continuity. You can have anybody playing going forward, a front three that can interchange, that can drop out, that can put other players in. But when you've got defenders, you need to play, you need that stability really. And I think they haven't had that this year, and I think it cost them a little bit in the Champions League, in the bigger games really. What
about centre forward wise then, Jay? Obviously, Gethin, you being a defender, Jay, you being a manager. That for me, Aguero's still there. He's had an amazing career, but they haven't really replaced and filled that gap and filled that void this year. You know, I mean, we just mentioned there about Inter Milan. Martinez, world-class centre-forward. Lukaku, world-class centre-forward. They put themselves about. They've got good movement. They're a handful. I didn't see that from what I saw against Man City, that Sterling buzzes about and he gets in some really dangerous areas but comes off the wing and creates problems. And Jesus does similar thing. But I don't know. I just don't think they've filled that gap the same as other teams have filled the gap to be as strong as it could be.
Yeah, but I still think they're scoring enough goals. I think everybody's going to miss an Aguero, aren't they? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Best striker in the world. But I still think they score goals and they create enough chances to win the World Football matches because they've got that much quality going forward. But they don't keep enough clean sheets from it, and I think you win games on clean sheets because you're always going to score goals with the quality of players out there going forward.
I agree. I agree. And to be fair, and I'll go back to the point about Sterling. You know that goes in, and he's been amazing this season. By the way, you know, he's probably missed 0 chances all season. Everything he's hit's gone in the goals. He's had the best goal scoring season of his life. So I'd never be critical on him. He's always going to miss chances, but it's a chance in a high profile game, which has obviously cost him in the end. But it's just such a shame that it happens to someone in that kind of a game. But that's to somebody, I guess.
Yeah.
Geth, what were you surprised by the way the two, like the Man City versus Madrid compared to the Man City a couple of days later versus Lyon?
Yeah, it's just like it was almost it didn't show up. It's like it happens in non-leagues a lot. If you're one of the top sides, you see sometimes you play a bottom side and you end up not turning up, and you win the teams around you, or you do well against the teams around you. And used to have it when I was at Bath for a time. We had a period that we'd do well against the top sides or sides around us, and play the bottom sides. We'd end up drawing or losing, and it almost looked like that type of scenario.
Can you put any of that down though that the crowd wasn't there though, Geth? You know that when you go back to that, you know what I mean. The players sometimes are motivated by the crowd being there. It's such a big game. It's you know what I mean. It's a Champions League quarter-final. Sorry, that you know what I mean. That some players are motivated by fans in a 60, 70, 80,000 all-city stadium. You know.
Yeah,
Is that
definitely.
down to the manager? Sorry, Geth. I was just
go on.
interrupt. I was just going to say, is that down to the manager to motivate them when the fans are not there and the
well, I'd say no with that, because I don't think the manager's job is to motivate the players, and not, you know what I mean, that enough, you know what I mean. It's not his sole job to motivate a team going out, and if you can't motivate yourself, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Knowing that it's not like it's the first game they play behind closed doors. That's what annoyed me, and they just looked like a chalk and cheese side from what they played against Real Madrid. You know that they were. I don't know if it was because they were at home and this was in Portugal and the things were different.
Could it be pressure, mate? And sorry, and again.
Oh, of course.
Could be just feeling the pressure because they haven't performed in Europe over the last years. Everybody expects them to, and they haven't done it, so they've just bottled it.
100%. You know what I mean? I think we've all played in games at every level where we it gets to a certain time in the game and you ask the referee how long's to go. You look at a scoreboard and think, oh no, you know what I mean? That this is now that it's under pressure. You don't want to make a mistake, and that happened. And you know, Sterling. Yeah, we go back to that moment because you don't want to make a mistake, and that's at both ends. You know what I mean? Sterling misses a chance at one end. The goalkeeper makes a mistake at the other end, and by the time you know it, you're out of the Champions League at the drop of a hat, and it's such a fine margins. Yeah.
Indeed. Okay, so that's any other business for this week. So next up, what we're going to do is we're going to talk some non-league and semi-professional football. But just before we do that, I wanted to make mention, because we announced it a little bit late this week, but Monday evening, 7:30 live, myself and Andy will be joined by former Cardiff City and Swansea player and absolute legend of Welsh football and football generally. He's played at many clubs, Welsh international. Mr. Andy Legg will be joining us for a show on Monday, which I'm very excited about, and I wonder what question he's getting in the Magnificent Seven. But we'll see. But I'm really looking forward to that, and I've seen a lot of people commenting already saying
he's a good guy. He helped me so much when I went to Cardiff. You know, he's obviously been there. He's had a rough time with illness as well in his life, so you know what I mean. He's one of the good guys in football, and you know what I mean. There's not many of them, but he's certainly one of them.
Yeah, I've heard he's a top bloke, so I'm really looking forward to it. Okay, Andy, what would you like to talk about first, my friend?
I'll start with Jay. Obviously, Jay, you've obviously been a professional footballer. Oh, before we start though, Jay, do you remember being in Singapore?
Oh, 4 years, mate. There.
Do you remember when I came over?
No.
You know, remember when I came over? So
Singapore.
Here's a story for you. So I was it was two good friends of mine were over there. So Jay was over there in his team, and I went over to see Mark Patterson and Craig Haley. So they were both over there. So they invited me over. I went on a holiday, but I ended up staying for a month. I went on an open ticket and just lived the lifestyle. I just used that as me summer off basically. And obviously I'd heard you were there. You were obviously a different team than they were, and I came across you a couple of times and a couple of lads, and it just looked like a different way of living, a good experience. So we'll start with that. So how did that come about, and how did you find it as a life experience and a football experience?
Yeah, no. Well, I was at Hartlepool. I was playing in League Division 2 and wasn't enjoying it really, to be honest. And this guy phoned me up and he said, look, I've got you a club in Australia. So I said, well, go on, tell me about it. You offer me a car, a house, full-time job at the club. So I went to Australia. I had a great season, to be honest. We played in Perth. I got picked for the state team. We played against West Ham and knocked Scottish at the Wacker. We had a big cricket ground in Western Australia. And we played there and I had a really good season. And when I came home, the manager of the team, how it happens, the manager of the team in Australia, he got the job when all the Asian football was kicking off, like the Malaysian League, the Chinese League, the Korean League, the Chinese, all the Asian leagues were all taken off. And he asked me if I would go over and play for a year. And I went over. I had the best years of my life, I lived in a little condominium, I had a couple of good seasons. The first year I was terrible, to be honest. I had a nightmare. The weather was obviously, the humidity was horrendous. I wasn't as fit as I could have been. But the manager liked us, and he gave us another year. And the second year I was there, I was a midfielder, and I was scoring goals from all over. And I really enjoyed myself, and I had, I flew my family over there. My family lived there for 4 years, and we had the time of our lives, really. And then, we came back to sunny Stockton.
Yeah, it's a good experience of doing it, and I think a lot of young players who get released think it's the end of the world. They think that there's nothing else out there. They think that that they go and play in the park with the mates, or they'll go and do whatever. That for me, I think there's not enough education about non-league football and semi-professional football, and going abroad and broadening your horizons sometimes, and being given that. And I think for me, and I've been beating the drum for weeks on this show about the PFA, and the PFA should have those kind of links and conversations with players just to help them out and advise and just be there for them, and have somebody who's been there, wore the t-shirt, so to speak, and just to give lads and girls, the experiences that they've had in their life, just so that they can open doors for them as well. It's such, listen, being a footballer, professional, semi-professional, is the best thing in the world, but at the same time, it's an absolute pain in the backside and a nightmare, because we all know, Saturdays are either brilliant or rubbish, no in between, and when you're injured, it's the worst thing in the world. When you're not playing well, it's but no, it's I was, because it was a great time, I'm guessing.
Oh, it was. Like I said, I was an average second division player. Hartlepool was doing okay, not great, and I went out there and it changed your life. You had your own sponsorship. You were living in a really beautiful country. You were treated like a king. And like you said, they were paying your flights home and back and forth. You sort of like, when you tell people that you've lived that sort of life, from playing from non-league player, and spending 5 years out, one in Australia and 4 in Singapore, and coming back and telling that story, there's been some brilliant players there. Yeah. I remember 2 players who played in the league got stopped because of the World Cup. Two of the Iranian lads were playing the World Cup in America, against America. So there were some really good players there. It was just like evolved, really.
Yeah.
But no, it was a brilliant experience, and something that I wouldn't have done. You thank football for that, really.
Yeah. Good. So, I'll start with you then, Geth. So, in your opinion, so what you've obviously played professional football, you played at Cardiff City, you've obviously played non-league football for various teams. So what's the difference between professional and the semi-professional game? So what's the difference?
It's obviously training every day makes a massive difference to yourself, but it's not depending on standard. Obviously, the lower down you get is a big difference, because obviously players are not motivated, got to motivate themselves lower down. But when it's higher up you go in a non-league, you're getting paid money, so you're treating it very professional. Like, you're not going out on a Friday night going drinking, stuff like that. But obviously the lower down your leagues you go, some people are doing that, and it's not a massive difference. Obviously, you go National League and National North and South, it's not a huge difference from that and the Football League sides, really.
Well, that was one thing I was going to ask you there. So obviously, you being a professional, and you're used to not going out on a Friday night, Thursday night, and treating yourself and keep yourself right. So how did you cope with those kind of players who did go out before a game, for example, if there was any? That it does happen because it's part and parcel. But how did you cope with that?
It did happen, but we were lucky. A lot of the clubs we were at, I was out with Bath for 8 years, and we had a very strong side, and like, people come in, if they were doing that, they wouldn't last long, do you know what I mean? Because people would call them out, do you know what I mean? You have players, we just call players out, and we looked after ourselves, do you know what I mean? Because we all wanted to win. We wanted to do the best we could, and we didn't accept that, do you know what I mean? And it was just, it was probably a right club at the time, do you know what I mean? That it just, that was how we treated it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Jay, what about you? So obviously you've played in semi-professional football. You've obviously managed for a very long time, and obviously you've seen that transition, and you've seen the leagues evolve as well. So you've obviously seen the league and football change dramatically, especially in the northeast of football, for example. So what's the difference between the pro game and the semi-pro game, and then how the game's evolved as well in the northeast?
I totally agree with Gethin there. Like, I mean, if you've asked me this question 10 years ago,
you get a different answer.
Even at Hartlepool, you know, pre-season is that, you know what I mean? You know, you would have your summer off, and you would go back there a little bit overweight, and you train and you get yourself fit. And managers used to like to be sick, you know what I mean? You do a massive run up the hills, and people would be thrown up, and that was fitness. You know, and I really get that the National League North and maybe the Evo stick to an extent. You know, I think the lads now are so fit that the food they eat, you know, the nutrition that they know about now is so different to what we had when we were, you know, we used to go on the coaches and we used to be banging loads of crisps in, loads of chocolate. That's all changed now. So when they do come back to pre-season, they're already naturally fit. You know, speaking. I mean, I've been manager of Spennymoor for 15 years, I think. And the involvement of that club and the players that we've had, you know, that's phenomenal. And I think that goes without saying in the leagues. We compete in a league where you've got about 7 full-time sides. It makes a big difference. So you can have as much ability in the world as you have as a footballer, but if you're not fit, you'll get found out. And I always utilise that as a player and see you've got to be fit. And if you're not fit, you know, you won't get far. And we've got a good bunch of that, and I would imagine every team in this league and in the leagues below, you know, are a lot fitter now than they were many years ago. You know, I can vouch for that myself.
Yeah, but I also think, and I think lockdown as well, especially the focus has been on certain things, hasn't it? You know what I mean? And I know a lot of lads in the area that I live that people put the 5K run times and things. It was getting a little bit tedious, you know what I mean? Because everyone's trying to beat each other. But it just shows how determined, how fit those lads are. You know what I mean? That you see lads in semi-professional football, part-time football who, you know what I mean, they go to the gym all the time and they look amazing, you know what I mean? They look probably fitter than a professional footballer does because they also dedicate their time to doing it. And I agree what you both say there, you know what I mean? That if you're dedicated enough and you have a passion for something, you know what I mean, you want to be better than the next person because, you know what I mean, I'll say what you just said there, Jay, that the 15 years is a long time and you've seen lads come and go to and fro from some very good players. But at the same time, there's someone always going to take their place. You know what I mean? So if you're not careful, you're not the best of your ability, you're not the fittest you can be. If someone's fitter than you, somebody wants it more than you, ability sometimes can go out the window because if you run through a brick wall for that football club and the fans adore everything what you do and the managers, your first name on the team sheet, it's ability sometimes can go out the window. You know, those kind of players who just non-stop effort, consistency, it's just the manager's dream.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a catch-22 because, you know, I keep knocking the head. Sometimes I need a ball player who's going to bring the ball left, right, and centre. But then you lose out on that sort of energy level, and you feel that you need at this level. You know, we've got a good bunch at the club. I think the players that we've been attract now, you know, no disrespect to the teams where we were in the Northern League, but since the chairman's come in, the calibre of players has gotten higher and higher. It's just testimony of where we are at the moment in the club.
Geth, so when you first got into semi-professional football, how was the standard when you started, and then how was the standard when you left? So had it evolved massively throughout the years that you played in it?
Well, I went to Spennymoor as an 18-year-old kid. Me and a lad called Brian Healy, who was a fantastic one-league player. Then he went to play for Torquay, he went to play for Morgan. You know, so there were some brilliant players in them days. You know, but I had the sort of the grounding at Spennymoor with the likes of Wes Saunders, you know, who played for Newcastle, the likes of Gethin Jones, they used to sort of bully you, if you like, you know what I mean? It wasn't a case of being nasty, but they just had that edge. And I think now that the younger lads, you sort of you've got to mollycoddle them a little bit more because they're not used to that sort of the grounding of physical football where they come out of academies and it's a little bit more technical. It's playing on beautiful pitches every week. When they come out of that sort of environment, it's a totally different ballgame. So I was quite lucky because we sort of came into non-league and then went into football league, if you like. So I'm sort of used to that sort of side of it. But to go off what you said, we've had some fantastic players through this football club, like Anthony Peacock played for the youth up in Middlesbrough. A lot of full-time professionals come out of that league and come to non-league football. So you've got the best of both worlds. You've got a lot of lads who played endless amount of league games, and lads who were just starting off and want to make their career. So it's a brilliant environment to be in.
Geth, what about you? So, how did you find the standard when you first went into semi-professional football, and when you left, how did you see the standard now?
When I was signed for Merthyr from Cardiff, and at the time you think it's too easy, and I had to sort of step back a little bit and.
So why? So when you mentioned easy, what do you mean? To explain to everyone else, because I know what you mean, because I know the high standards that you had at Cardiff. I know the ability what you had. So explain to everybody what you mean there by easy.
You just sometimes you find it too easy, and like you start doing things in games that you would never normally do, and then you have to sort of step back. And I remember a manager going to me said, "You've got all this ability, you've got building blocks, you're up there, your foundations, you're built on sand," and it was like. Step back and like, hold on. But then when you think about it, it's like, yeah, you've got this ability, you can play 30-yard balls, you can dribble and all this and that, but then you're doing this stuff as a centre half, whereas I want you to defend, and then it sort of sunk in with me, and then that sort of kicked me on a little bit then in non-league football. And the standard as you went through it, like as I got older, you could see the younger lads coming through. They were obviously more into their fitness. Do you mean everyone worried about a six-pack, whereas we didn't play like that? We were just like, you were fit, but they were worried to go to the gym. They want these muscles, they want the six-packs and all this. And as I say, I know a few people are managed now, and they're saying a lot of their players now are all so conscious of their appearance,
looking good,
as well as looking good, as well as obviously they're fit as well. Do you mean? And that's the difference. When it was irrelevant how fit you looked, as long as you were fit, they didn't care how fit you looked.
Jay, how do you cope with the amount of players which get thrown to you on a probably daily basis, weekly basis? Because obviously you're getting lads who are released by Middlesbrough, Newcastle, Sunderland, for example, and they're dropping down now. Instead of years ago, they were probably dropping down from Middlesbrough to League One, or Middlesbrough to Darlington or Hartlepool, for example, where now they're dropping down quite a gulf.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a weird one, because like you talk about now where the club is at. Every day you get agents phoning you, and you send in your clips, and you've got you're all well big on a clip, don't they? Everybody who sends a clip in, they're not going to send the bad bit.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah, so you've got to do your homework. I'm a big believer as a manager. You surround yourself with good people. And I've been very lucky where I've brought in some good assistant managers, and they've all moved on for various reasons. But the people around me are so important, and you've got to be able to trust them. But going back to what you said is about players, some of them look down the nose at them to be a non-league club. When they get put out the pro game, they still think that non-league's not great. But they get a shock, when they come into pre-season training, or they come to a trial or whatever, or they come in on loan, they get a shock to see how the club one is run professionally, and how the players, the players that we've got, are very good players. Some of them could be playing higher level, but they've got good jobs.
Yeah. So along with the wage for Spennymoor and with the job, you're not going to get that in a League 2 club or a League 1 club. Given a year or year option, they've got the stability, they've got a job, and a 2-year deal at Spennymoor. So sometimes it's a no-brainer for lads. If you like, we've got family in the northeast. What you just said there, Jay, I'm going to pick up a point. I find it disrespectful that players turn the nose up at clubs. I'll use it as a different word. I find it disrespectful to turn the nose up at a job, because it's a job, because there's a potential job at the end of it. The lads are going to get paid, and they get paid well for it. It's something they love doing. It's a hobby. It's a passion. And regardless what level you think you should be playing at and what level you eventually play at, there's a level for everybody, and that level can be found very easily, very quickly, if you just have the knowledge and the understanding and listen to people and just give it a go. Because you know what I mean. I was well, luckily or unlucky enough, depends on where you look at it, to play at every single level, from Premier League all the way down, play for my country. And I found it harder dropping down, because I found the expectations got even higher. Everyone expected me to score a goal every time I walked on the pitch. It doesn't happen. I found everyone expecting me to be 8 or 9 out of 10. Doesn't happen. You know what I mean? You don't always go into the game thinking that you want to play well. Of course you do. You want to try your best. Of course you do. But sometimes you don't play well, because it's just the part and parcel of being a footballer. And sometimes I've seen young lads coming through that 18, 19, they think they made it. Young lads playing at certain clubs, which I just find remarkable. You know what I mean, in semi-professional level, and listen, you know what I mean, football's just it's played a huge part in all our lives, and you know what I mean, whatever level. For me, and a good friend of yours, Richie Storr, he told me, it always rung in my ear when I spoke about retiring, and really I wanted to retire, and he sat me down and said, listen. He said, "You can still play as long as you don't train every day. I still believe you can play on a Saturday, maybe it's a Tuesday if your legs are allowed, but play as long as you can, because you're a long time retired." And it stuck by me. It stuck by me to this day, and hence why I still try and play on a Saturday morning for the over 40s, because I think, do you know what? When I get into 45, 50, you know what I mean, my legs won't be able to do it. I know, because I struggle. It takes me probably 3 or 4, 5 days sometimes to get over a game on a Saturday. So, you know what I mean, my advice to any young player is find that level quickly, play as long as you can, enjoy your football, and just play with a bit of passion and just to enjoy it, because it's the best thing. It's the best feeling in the world, playing football, and it doesn't ever get beat.
I always say to the lads who come in, the young lads, you know, I do believe Spennymoor is a great part-time club, but it's not the best club. You know what I mean? Can use it as a stepping stone, you know, and I won't stand in the way. We've had some great players through the club who still play football league, you know, and it is a stepping stone. Sometimes they've got to take a step back and take 2 steps, take 2 steps back and take 1 step forward.
So how proud are you of your ability then that you've seen those players progress on and they're playing higher?
Yeah, it's great. You know, you obviously as a manager you get loads of things wrong. You know, without a shadow of a doubt. You know, I've made lots of mistakes on the way. I think the best advice to the manager is you learn as you go on, and you're never too old to keep learning. I've got 2, Tommy Miller, who's an 8th class licence, you know, played in the Premier League. Shuey Parnby, who's a coach, who was at Birmingham. Yeah. They do all the coaching now. I've moved away from all that, and I do all that. And I'll just focus on bringing the players in and, you know, and doing the shape and talking about, you know, bringing individuals in on a one-to-one basis, you know. So that's my advice to manager. You bring people in around you that you know that you can trust, because like I say, you're going to need them, because it's a lonely place out there at times. It doesn't matter what you've done in the past for the football club or any club. You're only as good as your last game, really. And you know, you get stiff every single week. Doesn't matter if you win 4-0. It's a tough business. Yeah,
I totally agree. Geth, what was the attraction to becoming a semi-professional footballer? Was it just the transition because you wanted to stay in football? What was the attraction?
Yeah, I wanted to stay in football. I didn't want to leave playing football. Obviously, before coming to Cardiff, I was at Carmarthen as a youngster, a 17, 18-year-old, and just got into the first team and then come to Cardiff. So I always wanted to play football, and obviously, you know, it was nice and it was good to get a little bit of money. It was never going to be massive amount of money, but obviously, the longer I played in it, I was obviously getting better as a player playing non-league football type of thing, and you know, the money got a little bit better. But for me, it was never about money. I just wanted to play, and that's why I stayed at Bath for 8 years, because I loved playing for that club. Do you know what I mean? It was just like I didn't ever want to leave. I got offered more money many a time to go to Salisbury with the National League at the time. They offered me silly money, but it was like I didn't want to go there. I loved playing for Bath at the time, and it was just. Yeah.
What was it then about Bath City then, Geth? Because I've obviously heard very good things. You know that obviously when living in Cardiff, I watched them a couple of times when on a few days out to go and watch a game. But what was it? What was the attraction? What would you say was the best thing about playing for them?
It was just the group of lads we had. We just had such a good group of lads. We were so close knit together. Do you mean? It'd always be players changing, but from when we went from Southern League to the Conference, we always had like 8 to 10 players are always at that club all the way through that period of time. Do you know what I mean? And everyone stuck by each other. There's never we had people come in who were like dropping out from a higher club on big money and big time, but they didn't last. They didn't last long being big time. We got them in and knocked that out of them quite quickly, and they bought into how we wanted to be. Do you know what I mean? As a team.
Is that important? Is that important then, Gethin? Is that important to do that? Because obviously everyone needs to be singing off the same sheet.
Yeah, massively, especially in non-league, because obviously, if you got one or two players hiding in non-leagues, not doing what the rest of the team wants to do, is game can go. If you're playing against a good side, you can lose that game quickly. It's any standard, but obviously, you've got to have a close-knit team, I think, and if the boys are all together as a team, I think it just makes a massive difference.
No, excellent. I totally agree.
100%, guys.
I couldn't agree more. That obviously I tried to emulate Jay being a manager. I looked up to somebody. I was going to ask you about that. I emulated and tried to listen. I took some advice off Jay. I learned some players off Jay to help me in my little journey. I did okay at times, and then probably made an error of leaving the club I was at, who I'd done really well and had a bit of success, and tried to better myself where I should have probably just stayed where I was and learned my game really.
And with that, what was the thinking behind moving on? Because you like you say, you were doing well, you were settled.
Honest. If I'm honest, it was probably not having a great relationship with the chairman at the time. That it was getting a little bit fractious, and it was just time to probably just move apart and just go on to another club. We both shook hands and we respected each other since. So it was probably a good decision in that way. And I would have rather that than things go south at that club and then regret not doing it. That it could have took off at another club and it didn't. And I don't have any regrets. I think that's probably the best thing I'd probably say.
Do you reckon you would take a managerial job if something come up now?
No. I enjoy talking about football. I enjoy researching football. I enjoy talking to people about football, like these two guys. And I've got a passion for football, but my passion for football is not to stand there and have the. Listen, I know how busy I was at the level I was at. I can't imagine how busy Jay is. That you know what I mean, and on an hourly, daily basis. You know what I mean, and try and run it and be as successful as he has and have the pressure that he has and my hat goes off to him, and all the other managers who do it. And Jay said they're 15 years. You know what I mean? You do less for murder.
Oh, tell me about it. Yeah. So, you're not thankful neither.
Here's a question, I guess, for all of you. How difficult is it, like on a day-to-day basis, whether it's semi-professional or professional football, where if you fall out with your manager or another player or the chairman or someone who you've got to work closely with each day, if that relationship does break down even a little bit and it's a bit fractious, or if you have a proper falling out, like how difficult is it then to navigate those waters and do your job? We'll start with Jason. Go on, you go first, mate, with that one.
Well, I think I'm in a fortunate position because I'm a part-time manager, but I also work in school, so I'm head of pastoral, head of behaviour, and I think it's just a continuation of that really. I work with 11 to 16-year-olds, and when you're working with 18 to 35-year-olds, they're just as daft, they're just as silly, and I think the way I manage, everybody manages differently. I think I'm personable. I think I'm a decent man manager. I let Tommy and Stewie do the sort of technical stuff now. I think you've just got to be honest with players, and I think you learn along the way. I've got a great chairman who I've been with for 22 years, which helps. I had a difficult role because I sort of played with a lot of these players moving forward. So the transition for me was playing with these lads, a lot of the lads, to managing them then. So that was the hard thing because, they used to send pizzas around my house. We used to send Chinese around, they used to...
Send it to mine.
I remember leaving me ordering an Indian on the way home from the game with the Teesside lads who I was just starting to manage. But they were teammates of mine for years and years. I left my phone in the car. I get my Indian delivered as I always do. My wife shouted, "What have you ordered, Jason?" The bill came like 60 quid. Well, just the normal, you know. And she picked me phone and reordered loads of stuff. So that was that. So then I've started, you know, I took the Indian guy, so I'm not paying for that. You know what I get every week. Close the door. 5 minutes later, the pizza delivery came. The big massive pizzas came. I haven't ordered them. Then, you know, then the best one was a big party bus came, flashing lights in the estate. You know, I'm doing to Newcastle. No, mate, you know, I haven't ordered a stag do to Newcastle, so we do things. So it was difficult at the first because you're obviously playing with the lads that you grew up with and you've had these banters with, you've had a laugh with, and I still see myself as somebody, the manager who does have a laugh and joke, but I think I know where the line is. I think that's the difference now, what I can say now. I think the lads know where the line is drawn. Yeah. And I think that comes with experience.
Yeah, 100%. Geth, have you ever fallen out with anyone, whether it be a teammate or a manager or someone kind of above you or that you've got to work with daily or regularly? Like
teammates, we fall out every now and then on the pitch. You call each other out if you're not doing something, or vice versa. They call me out. But I think most of the time you can clear the air. Do you mean? Especially in football, I think it's different because obviously what happens on the pitch tends to stay on the pitch, and then it's done afterwards. Don't get me wrong, we've had some barneys in the change room sometimes, but you sort of walk away, and luckily, because you don't train every day in non-league as well, you can sort of go home, you have a couple of days, you come back training Tuesday, some of the boys take a mickey out of the pair of you for doing what you've done, and it's sort of, you laugh about it and you sort of forget about it. In work-wise, luckily I've got my own business, so it's me and my mate, we're partners. So obviously sometimes he does something I don't agree with, but instead of holding on to it, just sort of get out in the open straight away. You know, talk about it, and then it's done. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's the best way to deal with things, really.
And how did you find it when you had this fractious relationship with the chairman? Was it kind of, were you dreading like going in and doing stuff, or was it?
It was, it was. I think it was. I was dreading picking certain players. I was dreading the worry of getting beat. I was dreading that conversation after the game, and you know what I mean. And then, but at the same time, I was also looking forward to winning, shoving it down his throat a little bit, and just. But then that's the time when I knew it was a bad relationship, when I'm wanting to get one over him and he's wanting to get one over me, and that wasn't the relationship that it started out with, and then I just realised very quickly that we're both grown-ups. Well, he was a grown-up and I was a little bit immature, and it's just time to move on. You know, it's just listen. We're both. It was just there was an opportunity there for me to try something new. I tried it. Didn't really enjoy it the way that I was enjoying it, and it didn't work out the way I wanted it to work out. So yeah, just happy to give it a go though. I'm glad I tried.
Did you ever dish out the hairdryer hands properly?
Yeah, loads of times. There's a good story. We quite an infamous one in the Northern League that I got stadium banned. Believe it or not. Not sure if you heard about this, but I got stadium banned because I went in the referee's room and told the referee what I thought about him. I thought it was bang on, to be fair, but I didn't swear. I kept my language to a minimum, but left the doors open. But got told off, got reprimanded. I got a 5-game stadium ban, but I watched every single game because we had 5 home games, and I watched every game from a treehouse, believe it or not. And and then but they found out about it, so I got an extra game on top of it. So I was a little bit disappointed with that.
Harsh. 6 games for criticising the referee. Gee,
yeah, I know.
That's unbelievable.
You get it.
So we got a few questions in the live chat, but I'll finish off with those. And was there anything else you wanted to cover with these two gentlemen?
I want to finish off with last season's debacle, Jeff. Really, with you, and obviously get opinion on it. But obviously, last season ended. Well, it probably didn't end. It just nobody realised what was going on. But was it fair? Was it a disgrace? How in your opinion? I know obviously you don't want to upset anybody here, but obviously I've got a good relationship with the two managers at Chester City, who are very let's say they're very outspoken, and they obviously got a place in the playoffs, so they got another opportunity. Yes, it was probably 12 weeks later than what they imagined. But how, in your opinion, did the season end, or how should it have ended fairly?
It was just a debacle, wasn't it? I mean, you talk about consistency in football and the pyramid system, things like that. You had the Eagles thing on all the Premier League, null and void. You know, so then you think that's what's going to happen in the National League and National League North. I think it's difficult for me because we were in the playoffs. So we lost out on points per game for about 0.05 of the goal. However that works out, I haven't got a clue still.
Did they ever tell you? Did they ever tell you how it worked out, Jay? Because I tried to find out what it meant, but never really got the end of it.
No, I know we played 2 more games in Gateshead, so I think we worked out that the points per game that they would have accumulated would have worked out better than ours. You know, it is what it is. We suffered in terms of we didn't win enough games at the start of the season. We were in a really good rich vein of form at the end of the season. We were in and around it. You know, you'd have fancied yourself again going to the playoffs. I don't hold grudges. I think it's one of them where points per game, it is what it is. But I think if they're going to do that, they should have done that for the Northern Premier as well, which was null and void. So I feel really hard done by the teams that actually won their leagues. Even Stockton Town at a lower level, who walk their league. You know, so you know, I think it's hypocrisy gone mad really, because you know, in one league it's a different points, it's a different way to tally it up than it is in a different league. And I think we're all singing from the same song sheet. We all play the same fight. We all work for the FA. We're all in the same umbrella, but it's different rules for different leagues. And I couldn't get my head around that. Albeit, I do agree with what the National League did in terms of points per game. It meant that we lost out, but I think Altrincham and Kings Lynn were two very good sides who deserved to go up. So I've got no confidence about that.
Yeah, Geth, what were your thoughts on the way that it ended for non-league teams? Because you know, I mean, Jay just mentioned a few there about teams who, for me, should have gone up, deserved to go up. We're robbed, in my opinion. You know what I mean? I know a lot of the players, managers, and stuff, and supporters who go to these games. But what's your opinions on what happened?
I thought it was a disgrace, especially lower down. Obviously, just a null and void. You got teams even lower down. They're paying, you know, some money to these players, even if it's only the budget's £200 a week as a budget. They're still paying. They're still the chairman's putting money in to try and get up to the next step. And like a good friend of mine, he's a manager at Alsford. They were running away with the league, and then it's null and void. And it's like, how can you do? Do you know what I mean? It was no consistency in anything. Do you know what I mean? It was just all over the shop. It just felt sorry for all teams really, in every step in non-league, because it was just never. It was poor for, you know, even in the Conference North and South, like, you know, to give them points per game. But how do you work it out? How can you say, oh, they played 2 more? Who's to say?
That was my point there, because you know, I mean, Jay's on about Gethin, who eventually got the place, and the expectations with them to win the games. But the football's not that easy. You turn up to a game with pressure. You know what I mean? You'd rather have the points on the board and let them finish the season off. And it's just I don't agree with it. You know, I know that. You know what I mean? Fair play. You're not holding any grudges, Jay, because you know, I'd have probably got another 12-game stadium ban.
What do you think of that comment there from Gaz? He says the Premier League and the EFL don't care about League 1 and League 2, let alone the non-leagues. And I kind of think that has been quite obvious over the last 6 months, probably, particularly with how they dealt with it.
You cannot put the EFL in there. The EFL have not got a clue what they're doing, left, right and centre. They are the most clueless organisation I've come across in football.
But that's what I mean. I think the larger organisations who were in charge of English and British football, they do not care about those lower leagues, and that's a big problem for me, because if you haven't got the lower leagues, eventually you ain't going to have the top leagues, because they all feed into that's my
worry. That's my worry, and that was my worry, Jay. That, you know what I mean, everything's a funnel. You know what I mean, the Premier League funnels down the Championship to League 1, League 2, the Conference North and South. That where does it end? You know what I mean, you can't just end it somewhere. You know what I mean, and they just decided to end it at League 2, League 1, and then they started up then they decided with the playoffs, and you know what I mean, there was rumours that Boro weren't going to get promoted, which then would have you know what I mean, I felt so sorry. You said Stockton Town, there was South Shields, there was Boro, you know what I mean, there was all these yourselves, And I just thought the whole thing's an absolute shambles. But then you can look back at Sunderland, for example, who probably would have got in the playoffs because they were on good form. Yes, they were a few points behind and a few games behind, but they'd won the last 6 or 7 games, and the whole thing was it just wasn't handled very well and very professionally. But again, the fans get punished.
I don't think there was an easy way to finish anything, was there? It was tough. But like I say, I think what the argument is as a manager is if it's a rule for one, it's got to be a rule for everybody.
Yeah, it's got to go round for every league, haven't it?
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Right, we're going to finish with some questions from the viewers, and I've got a few questions myself if we need any more size. So what have we got from people who've been watching?
First of all, we've got Rob Boyle says, who is the best player or stroke most successful to come out of Spennymoor Town?
Oh, Neil Bishop's done really well.
He's done great, Bishop, yeah.
He's just retired recently. I think he's played over 508 games. He's done really well. Ryan Healy played well. We've had a load, like Jack Diamond just got promoted. He was on loan with us last year. He got promoted with Cardiff Town this year. It's a tough one, but I would say, like, in terms of league appearances, Neil Bishop's got to be up there, really.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Sorry, I lost my questions then for a second.
I've got one for Geth. Well, we're on. So Geth, who's the best semi-professional footballer you've played with and why? And then also, if he was the best, why didn't he want to play to the next level?
I'd probably say it's a tough one actually, because I played some really good players like Kaid Mohammed went up and moved up into Football League, but then
he did, yeah. Good player.
I played with Jim Rollo, and he was at Bath, and he played until he was 38, 39 at that standard, and he was just you'd probably have to say him because of his fitness, and again he looked after himself before the players now. Do you mean he was doing that back 10 years ago, and he was really, really dedicated, and he was a good footballer. He weren't he's not the most talented as in, but he was just a good footballer. Like as a non-league player, he'd be the type of player you want in your team week in, week out.
So could he have stepped up and played higher?
He dropped down, so he dropped down to non-league. So he.
All right, okay.
He probably could play. He could have played higher, because he was good enough to play a right back, in a Football League side. But I think he was in a good job, like Jason said, like people in a good job, and they're just getting good money and in a good job. They're better off than going and playing League 1 or League 2.
Yeah, no, great answer.
Spot on.
Great answer.
Richie says, what are the guests' favourite memories or moments when playing non-league and professional football?
Jay, do you want to start?
Go on, Jay. Sorry, mate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, great for us. The FA Vars is the holy grail of sort of non-league around, especially in the North East. And having won that at Wembley was a great achievement for the club. And seeing 20,000 supporters at Wembley lifting the trophy. As a manager, it was a relief, but I would imagine as a player, it was a great achievement. So that stands high. Taking the club to the FA Cup first round against MK Dons was really good. And obviously getting to the National League North as a football club to go to the highest level that we've ever been, is another real high in the managerial career, really. So probably them three.
Kath, what about you?
First round FA Cup, obviously we beat Grimsby. That'd be one with Bath. Obviously we had 2 promotions with Bath, but I think the playoff final getting promotion to the National League, that was special. It was on a Sunday. I think it was 5,000 or 6,000 people in Bath Stadium in Twerton Park, and it was just the atmosphere was amazing. Do you know what I mean? It was like a proper
you never forget
old
those
football
kind
club.
of days, though, as well, do you, Kath? You never forget those days.
No.
Bouncing.
No, we are.
Yeah.
It's just one of them days that you just love, and if you could go back and do it every weekend, you'd love to do it. But
But I think though, if you did that though, it take away how special it is. You know what I mean? That those kind of moments, the moments are special in your life because they've happened and nobody can take it away from you. But when they happen all the time, I'm not saying they're not special, but they become less special.
Take the shine of it,
yeah, of course, because
you just become accustomed to it, don't you?
Well, you do, don't you? And you know what I mean? That it's the expectation, and you look at the Premier League kind of players or the Championship kind of players, and they have reservations about dropping down to certain levels because they're used to playing in front of big crowds or big stadiums or at a certain level, and they won't drop down to a certain level because of that. And you get young lads who are the same because they've been brought up at X, Y, and Z, Man City, Middlesbrough, Liverpool, but they won't drop down to semi-professional level because they've been in that bubble, in that academy, and it's not the mentality the best mentality to have, in my opinion. You know, we've all had highs, lows in our careers, but you know that certain times in our in everyone's career, and you know what I mean, that the happy times always stick by you. It's just they're amazing. They're amazing.
A couple of questions for Gethin very quickly. Warren says, how did you find your time at Merthyr, and what was your best moment there?
I love my time at Merthyr. It was great. It was a good club, lovely. The supporters are great up there. I mean, that's one thing about the club, especially now. I went back a second time towards the end of my career, and we had a good period. We won a cup final there, so that's probably my best time there. And I say it's just I enjoyed everything about the club. I mean, they've moved forward, and they went through a bad period where they almost went out of existence. They've come back through, and they've come back up into a good standard again now.
Yeah, they've come back more stable and stronger from what I can gather. And also, Rich Luffman asks, is it true that you've been approached by a big club in Bristol to come on board the coaching staff, but your wife won't let you?
He's right. He's not far off, right?
I've got a question for you, Jay. So, who inspired you to want to become a manager? So, what made you? Which madman made you become a manager?
Well, I had Jamie Pollock was my manager.
Yeah, I know Jamie was. Yeah, I knew that at the start. Yeah.
So Jamie was my manager. I was assistant. It was just a transition really that came through where he left the club, and I had affinity with Spennymoor, and I took the challenge, and then I was fortunate to be quite successful. And then obviously the chairman came in, who was a friend of mine, and he took the club to another level. So I took bits of everything that I've had from managers that I've worked under, you know, whether they've been good bits or bad bits. You know, you take on board things that they've done that you can relate to, and I think that's the part of it, you know. So it's a case of Jamie Pollock was the first person that I worked under, you know, to play at the Premier League level. So you know, he was the one who gave me the desire to sort of carry on going.
So it's Jamie's fault, yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I've told him.
Okay, guys, appreciate you all tuning in. Jason, thank you very much for your time, mate. Really appreciate
cheers,
it.
Yeah.
And obviously, Gethin's gone missing. Someone now would make a joke about going missing in a football match, but I would never do such things.
Or
great guy.
After the last comment, his missus has told him he's not allowed on anymore.
Or he's gone to Bristol.
Yeah. She's revoked his appearance. But yeah, cheers to everyone who's tuned in. Good audience again on YouTube and Facebook. Appreciate it, and all the questions. And alright, Gethin's back now. Guys, subscribe to youtube.com/AcePodcastNation. Follow at AC Footy Show on social media. And Geth, we thought your wife had told you weren't allowed to appear straight after that comment.
My battery's gone dead on my phone, so I think I'm going to get the charger.
Right.
We'll let it off, mate. Thanks very much for coming on. I've had a great show, mate. It's been amazing.
Yeah, cheers, Gethin.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
And thank you, Jace. Cheers.
Cheers, Jay.
And thanks to everyone for watching. And we'll see you Monday.
All the best.
For Andy Legg.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my Auntie Louise told Mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if Mummy or Daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and Mummy and Daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.